Hi everybody, Don Giannetti here for the product class number 8, last one, cosmetics. And we got the right microphone working now, so it won't have that sort of hollow sound that the last one had, because I didn't know my microphone wasn't working, and so it was recording off the computer. Not bad, but not as good as this one. Cosmetics, awesome! So many different creative things that you can do. The interesting thing is the entire genre of cosmetics. Everything can be shot on about a 1 foot by 1 foot surface. They're not big bulky items. They're very small. This gives us as photographers a real opportunity to tweak our lighting and to work with graphical approaches and to make images that really can be exceptional. Because the design of the cosmetic cases and the product itself lends itself to our visual abilities and photography. So let's take a look at some lipstick cases, shall we? Kind of a nice minimalist approach here to some gold lipstick cases with only one of them pulled out. Isn't that fun? I love the little red down here, the little bit of reds that are coming through, but the rest of the shot is gold, big soft light, nice scrim. We've got our sharp black line to tell us that these are shiny gold objects. We couldn't have that without that break right there. So if you kill all the reflections, you've killed the texture, you've killed the chrome or the shininess. I thought this was really well done. And then of course way up here, so it's not causing too much of we've got a little one right there, we got a little one right there. There's not a big specular, but there's a hard light coming from this way over here to throw these shadows down and really give it some dimension. Beautifully lined up, vertical, graphic, shooting straight down. A fun shot to do for cosmetics. Now if you want a challenge, try balancing these guys. Get them to balance on each other like this. That could be a lot of fun. However, I will tell you that this is probably not balanced, that there are wires and strings and something holding this crap up. And the photographer's gotten down a little bit low, so we're not seeing any surface. We're only seeing an edge. Shooting up and beautifully lighting it from the angles that we look at. This highlight right over here, right down that tall vertical. Look at the highlights right on the edge of that item. Look at this right on top of there. Isn't that lovely? We've got the front of the lipstick. We got light over the top. Probably a couple of different scrims, softbox, small white cards, etc. being used in here. The inside of this is beautifully lit as well. It's important that we have the black, because if we don't have the black, we don't know. If without that black, it could be painted yellow. Right, folks? That black tells us, nope, that's gold. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I love the angle on it, too. So, are they photoshopped together? Could be. I don't think so. We can see that this gold is reflecting the top of this lid. We can see this reflected in the gold there. We can see the lid of this reflected into that unit there. And if we look real closely right along here in that dark area, that's these ribs over here. So, I mean, if they put it together in Photoshop, they paid a lot of attention to reality detail. I think it was shot in camera. Nice little spray on the back to keep everything separate. You can find, we saw the gold, and you can find items that are all the same color, and that makes a real fun approach as well. So we saw the gold with the red lipstick. Here's all black with a very soft salmon color. And notice again, the photographer's way down, so we're not looking at the surface. We're only seeing the edge of this. This is where a board, maybe only a 1x2 or a 1x1 board, sanded smooth and painted with a couple of layers of black glossy spray paint, could come in very handy, because you wouldn't have much of a surface to sit these things on, but you could sure put them on that 1 inch or 2 inch surface on the top. If you sand the wood very nicely, and I think you might want to treat it a little bit, maybe with some varnish, a clear varnish or something, and then spray paint it with glossy black, 4 or 5 coats, you'll have a very nice surface to work on. Just for small things like this is very nicely done. Beautifully lit, and one of the very few shots that I've seen with it that's lit from the front. They really wanted to accent that shape, and so the photographer's got his lights on the side. We've got the shadow to give us that. Notice the black shadow is a little bit diffused. That tells us these are not glossy black. There's just a little texture to them. Look at that diffused highlight running here. But that highlight to the front just pops the roundness of those guys. It's pretty fun. Really cool shot. Lots of drips. Lots of dripping action there. How do you do it? Well, you'll just have to work with it and probably get some of these drips on their own and then Photoshop them in. I doubt this was shot in camera. This was all probably shot in camera, but these drips added a little bit later. And again, right on the edge. In fact, this bottle's coming off the edge. Nice little drop shadow below that bottle as well. Good highlights. Nice softbox up here. And again, another, we've got a little bit of a spray light back there just to pull the subject off the background. If you want to get really exciting, we can pop a lot of highlights. Look at the highlights in here. Photoshop, maybe, probably, but you know, hitting them with that hard light up front, keeping soft light around to keep it lit, you know, as product, but really zapping them with looks like a punchy light source, and not letting that punchy light source create a big shadow on the product, even though it looks like the product is leaning up against something back there. There's really no shadow, so there's light from the side or light from the back, killing the shadow, except for right here, killing the shadow for the most part, and really letting those highlights pop in. Isn't that fun? Very cool shot. And again, this is what we were talking about, the graphics and the design apparatus that you have with all these things. They're cool. They're brushes, and they're bottles with chrome lids, and there's all kinds of graphical things. Take this big brush here. Look at that beautiful soft brush. We've got the makeup here. We've got powder on the makeup on the brush, but it didn't come from this one because we didn't mess it up. It came from a different one. And then the little cakes of powder around. Nicely done. Light from the top. Light from the back, throwing a little bit of a shadow to the front on this brush here. We've got nice highlights to the side. Was this shot at the same time as this? I don't think so, because the side of this canister should be reflecting this thing here. So I'm thinking that was probably too busy in the side of this little guy right here. So we shot them separately, or we shot this separately and dropped it in later. Otherwise, I can't explain why. As you can see, this little pile of stuff is most definitely reflecting over here. Why this big mass of things aren't reflecting there? Not possible. Not on Earth, anyway. Here's a cool shot for Clinique. Lots of some sort of base makeup, I believe, and then you know these little fun things that you can do with the thick makeup. And if it's on plexi or glass or some sort of surface, you know, you can wash it right off. Nicely done. Not with this brush, obviously. This brush has been re-dipped for perfection up here. And then a nice composition. Look, notice how the composition 4, 3, 1 reads us right down to the bottom. It's nicely done composition, very much a leading line composition. those leading lines. Notice how this one comes to this one, down to this one. It's really nicely composed by the photographer. Here's another variation of that. Let's spill a bunch of crap out and photograph it straight down. Isn't that cool? Isn't that fun? Taking advantage of the graphics of the square bottles, round bottles, the black holes, the pools of liquid. Notice how the soft box. Notice how sharp it is. It's obviously a box. It's not a scrim. It's a soft box. The photographer wanted that edge. So we had a soft box to the side giving us that big liquid highlight right down the side of this, right over here. Beautiful. That little highlight of the soft box is almost like a design feature in and of itself. And we've done real well with all these highlights running in here and on the back side of the half circles here. All those, and then coming from this side, a little, probably a white card, just a little kicker right here and right here and right here, just to open up those edges. We're not even seeing much of a, there's a little bit of a one there, right there and right in here, but we're not seeing much of a big specular in the liquid here, just a little bit of something. And that is we want that feeling of light from the left side, but we got to kick a little bit of edge to these bottles or they're going to look dull, and that's not what we want them to look. Here's a good solid product shot of a very expensive lipstick, and beautifully lit. Look at this soft spray light in the back. Look at the light right on the edge of those tiles there. Just these colors are very similar, but just giving us that very, very nice, subtle surface. The light gradient over here, gradient here, gradient here, sharp and defined as gold here. Beautifully on both sides of the lipstick and then right on top. I'm going to go with lights on both sides, one on the top, maybe on the top straight up, because this angle is, angle of incident, angle of reflection. It's got to be up there somewhere. We can also see it possibly right here and possibly on the top. I say possibly. This could be coming from a design feature on the lid there, but I don't know for sure. Real simple design, real simple composition, but beautifully done. And I love how this vertical comes right down to the vertical of the tile there. It's so symmetrical. Really, really fun. I put this one in here because I wanted to remind everybody how difficult it is to do a lot of these things in one shot. You're going to see this is not a terribly good photograph here at all. That's a stock shot for somebody, but this is horribly lit and boring. Don't do this. Okay, just let's put it out on a white surface and put a big giant softbox over the top and just blast it. It's got to come out fine. Well, it comes out I guess okay for a newspaper ad for your local shopper, but not for your portfolio, not for what you're doing. What you need to do is melt some chocolate lipstick like this. Lots of melted chocolate down here, melted chocolate coming down the side of this lipstick, which is supposedly a chocolate color, chocolate lipstick kind of approach. Really nicely done. Simple, very simple. The logo is it's there. It's hard to read. I think the photographer could have done a little bit better job with that logo than that. Maybe even with second shot in Photoshop and blending them in here, just lost a little bit. But it's a very clever approach. Does real well. I like this one. I thought this was great, this next one, because we're going from a white background and a very clean reflection. And we're going to go from a white background to a black background. And notice how these very bright colors just jump off the page. I think that in the white background was a perfect choice for this. It's black. We've got these warm earth tone chocolates. We've got the dark chocolate dripping off. I think the white was perfect because this color works well against the white. I think these could have worked against white, but they're so dramatic against the black. Just so much drama going on here. Kind of cool. Where's our softbox? At the back. See the big highlight there on the edge of the liquid? Don't get much down in here. Get a little bit from there, but still from the back. A little bit still from the back. You can see it in the bottles here. And over here in these bottles, we're getting it from the top. Nicely done from the top and from the side. You get a little bit on the side over here. But and this is me again with my fascination with elegant lighting. What about just a little bit of a gradient in here? Just a little bit, just pull it so these aren't so flat black. Maybe that's what the photographer wanted. I'm fine with that. It's my art director history coming into play here. I just want to pull a little something across the front so that my clients knew what this front was. We can see it here. We know it's super shiny black. Super shiny black, probably a high quality black plastic, but I'd love to see it in the front just a little bit. Pretty clever. Pretty darn clever. How'd they do it? Well, probably shot it flat and then added the little drop shadow here in Photoshop. I also do not think these were all shot together because we've got top and bottom highlights here and we've got side highlights there and there. That doesn't jive. That little bit of a highlight there is, look how soft that one is and look how bright that one is. Nah, it was shot. These were done separately and then composited together, but a nice photograph. We're not here to judge whether it was done in camera or not. I don't really care. Is it a nice photograph? Does it work well? Is it well composed? Yes, it's well composed, it's well lit, and it's kind of fun. You know what else is fun? Blowing up powder. Yeah, exploding powder. I love the work done here, whether it was Photoshop, probably a mixture of Photoshop and doing it in camera. We got this beautiful compact here. Lovely lighting all over it. We've got lighting that give us the texture. We know it's real shiny. We know it's got a little bit of a tooth on the top. We know all of this. Look at the beautiful light on the makeup inside. I mean, there's a special on that. Maybe a little bit of a grid. Notice see the highlights in here? There's got to be something on there. Got to be a special somehow, because this lighting, the rest of this lighting doesn't make sense to make that pop out. Then the explosion and bringing the explosion over the top of the compact up here with the little drop shadows and stuff. Very sweet. Notice how this stuff does not intrude on the main part of the cosmetic, though. A little bit right there, but that's just on the fringe. Really good concept, really well technically created. Really, really well done. And again, we're talking about graphics here. We take the graphics of the tall brush and the round and a little bit of powder and a little bit of a drop shadow. And it's kind of a workaday shot. You know, it's not nearly as stunning as something like this, but it's a good solid Rockstar product shot. Beautifully lit up the side. We've got the white background. We've got highlights that make sense. A little bit of a gradient on the front. Definitely see the logo here and here. So as a product shot, it does the job. Here's kind of a mixed bag. Again, shooting on white to really pop the color, and using some of the ideas of the color breaking up and cutting off here and then smashing it here and dribbling off the stuff here. All of those things brought in here with all these other blue items. So lots and lots of blue in this picture, and that's the whole idea, is pull all these blues together to make the shot. Very monochromatic approach to the subject. Where's our light? Well, it looks like we've got a soft light over the top. See, right there. Got a nice little soft light. Got a little soft light right there. And then we've got a sharp light from the top left. And notice how the photographer's been very careful not to have anything with an angle that gives us a really poppy specular. We don't see that, a glaring specular, so it's a very controlled light from this side, giving us little shadows there, and right there. Is there a shadow on that pencil? I think so. There better be. If there's no shadow on this pencil, it was obviously put in Photoshop. Interesting. And maybe it was. Maybe the art director decided this guy needed to cut through all the rest of this geometry. But can't tell at this size. Looks good. And we have some brushes having a war, just like the mountains there in that Hobbit movie. When the mountains were banging each other, here we got these things banging on each other. Look at that. How do you do this? Quick trigger finger. Where's the light? Definitely to the back. We've got some light on the front. We've got some fills. It looks like some very bright speculars, probably to help catch this dust in here. But we definitely have some light to the back to light up all of these bristles. See the bristles up there? See those bristles? See that edge? It's not a very bright edge. It's because the light, notice how bright it is here. It's because the light is pushed back a bit. We're not really seeing that light reflect, but we're seeing it come through all of these guys. That's huge. Fun. I think this Christian Dior shot was really just really exceptional. It's Christian Dior. It's going to be premium product beyond, it's definitely not a poor person's product, or probably even a middle-class person's product. This is a very expensive product, and they chose to make it look extremely elegant, almost with a bright red dress on it. The reds match. The gold is amazing. The angle is amazing. We got it right out on the tip of some sort of ledge here. It looks like the star of a movie, and it's created beautifully with just one single light. I think there's definitely some fill over here because we're seeing it on the chrome or the gold of the capsule here, but we're not seeing it in the red, and I'm not sure why. Maybe photoshopped out. For some reason, they just wanted that lipstick to fade off into black, but they needed to keep the side of this. These are creative decisions, that you'll make and art directors will make, etc. along the way. They're creative decisions, and so just be ready for somebody to do that to your photograph. Probably 2 cans of this. 1 can to crush out, 1 can to crush out, the other can to put here. Obviously, this makeup that's being crushed out here on the surface did not come from these cans. Those are absolutely clean, bright. But I thought that was really, really kind of fun. And we've got a little bit of a highlight that goes behind them. So there's definitely some very, very nice Photoshop work here to keep that little area a little brighter back there. Give us an idea of a spray. I don't think this is a big scrim play. It could be. It could be that this surface is matte with just a little bit of shiny tooth to it. And what we're seeing here is a big scrim with the with a little bit brighter light in the middle, parked back a little bit. I mean, it definitely fits with the lighting scheme that I see on the rim here, but parked back a little bit, and we're seeing the highlight of the center part of that scrim here. But I tend to think it's photoshopped, created. We also have a light from the back over here driving through and making this shadow and that shadow and that and that and that and that. Without those shadows, these little recognizable shadows, the shot just sort of becomes really flat, because you can take it and look at it with your eye and take the shadows out, and you'll just see how flat and lifeless the picture becomes. It's the little shadows that make the shot work really well. You can always spill your daughter's purse out a little bit. Not a very great shot, but a good concept. Bringing in the little girl's purse and pulling the stuff out of it. That could be a really good concept. I'm sorry, go back. I don't think this is done very well, because it's literally kind of boring compared to what else we've seen here, but it's a good concept that could be used to create something a little bit more special. Clinique has a very unique way of doing their ads. This is one of the things that they do. So if you want to shoot Clinique, you've got to have these boards on the side, and the darkness on the sides, and nice highlights all the way through. It's kind of a unique look. One last shot. I like this picture because it's very clever, and it's also very difficult to do, because handling lipstick with your fingers, or however you would handle it, is a real nightmare. So look at these guys. Unless they've been really professionally and super well done with the Photoshop, taking the fingerprints off, these were delicately handled little broken off pieces of lipstick, stacked up, made a nice shot. Maybe there's a pin going down through them to keep them all vertical. And again, we're just seeing the edge. We're not seeing the surface. We're just seeing the edge of the surface. Very clever. Little spray light behind. So it's a lot of fun to see these shots and to see what people are doing with them, and to see just how far you can go with design and color and dimension, concept, emotion. It's just really fun. You can do whatever you want with this stuff, because it is, after all, a product that has, everything has been done to this product. Floated in water, beat it up, break it, destroy it, mash it, make it look super expensive, put it on a model in a junkyard. We're only doing the product part. When you get into shooting the models with the makeup, that's a whole different bailiwick for sure. So we've got a lot of great images here to pique our curiosity, to help us come up with an idea to shoot. And that's what I'm looking forward to, folks. I'll see your work next week. Have a great day and make a lot of great pictures. Thanks.